Hey everybody, it's me, Spencer, back again in the flesh, so to speak, or in the hands, because that's all you really see on my videos. And tonight I am going to be sketching something that I've had quite a few requests for. If you actually look through my videos, you can see that I've kind of done this before, but I haven't actually talked through the process of how I go about doing it and thinking about sketching this particular thing. So thanks again to you guys for giving me suggestions on what to draw. I've got quite the list of topics to sketch on, so I'm hoping, don't hold me to this, I can promise you I'll have one video a week at least, but I'm hoping to get up to 2 videos a week, so you can expect something on every Tuesday just as it's always been, and hopefully I'll be adding Thursday video here soon. So for this week's Tuesday video, I'll be sketching a shoe and just talking about how I go about doing this. So there's a couple ways to go about it. If you watched the video from last week about how to sketch complex organic shapes, a shoe essentially is a more complex organic shape where I sketch things using planes. You can use that method. The other thing I like to do is what I call sketching masses. So if I look at the shape of a typical shoe, by the way, I'm sketching with Prismacolor pencils today. From the top down view, I'm gonna have something like this, okay? And here's the opening of the shoe, you've got the tongue, etc., etc. Okay, so I'll generally have some kind of shape like this. Now, what I can do is I can look at this sketch of my top-down view, and I can essentially identify some shapes. So I've got these 2 oval shapes and kind of a two transitional lines between those 2 shapes. So again, thinking of things in very simple geometry. So here I've started sketching in kind of this oval in perspective. I can kind of do the same thing here. And if I kind of connect these 2 shapes like so with just a nice curved line, and you'll notice that as I'm sketching this, there's a certain movement to this, okay? So from the side view of my shoe, essentially, even if it's a flat bottom shoe, I've got this kind of movement to the whole thing, okay? And understanding that, I'm going to switch to a different piece of paper here, but understanding this movement and translating it into perspective, I can essentially create the outsole of whatever shoe and start sketching in lines representative of the general silhouette of that shoe. Okay, and I'm probably skipping a lot of stuff, but I just kind of want to show you how I like to think about it as I'm quickly sketching something. So one shape here, another shape here, transition like so on the other side. And there's essentially the sole of the shoe. I'm going to come down like so and just lightly sketch this in. So I'm going to do kind of just a cool casual shoe that you would wear maybe with a pair of jeans or something. Maybe something that has a little bit more of a high top feel to it. And this will be a men's shoe. So on the top here, I could sketch an ellipse, kind of with an axis like that. I'm just going to bring this down and kind of round this out like so. So again, you can see I've got that certain movement to the overall sketch. Now I am sketching with pencil. I'm using marker paper today. I'm not too worried about these light lines that I've sketched in because I'm sketching light till I get it right. You've probably heard me use that term before, and essentially it just means I'm using very light lines to capture my design before I really commit and start sketching in those final design lines. So for the laces, you can kind of imagine a center line going down the tongue of this shoe here. And right on that center line, I'm going to try and cross my laces as I go across here. And there's a lot of ways to do these. You can kind of figure out your own way how you want to do that, but this is how I'm going to do it. And I'm just going to kind of hint at a little bit of an outsole here on my urban shoe, and maybe some kind of cushioning detail through the bottom right through here. Okay, so now that I've got my light sketch complete, I'm actually going to switch to marker. And by switching to marker, I can add some quick color and tone to, you know, functional or even material breaks on my sketch. And this way, I can kind of flood the area with color without having to worry too much about my final lines just yet. So, for example, let's take this gray, and I'm actually going to use a lighter gray. I'm going to use this nice fat Copic marker. It's a wide marker, and I haven't opened this in a while, so I'm going to test this to make sure I've got enough juice and I'm good. So because these are alcohol-based markers, they're not gonna, and I haven't really put too much pencil down on the sketch, they're not gonna bleed or cause me to smudge as I'm sketching. And I'm just gonna go ahead and flood this area. If you're wondering how to apply marker, that's a very good question, and I'm happy to do another video to kind of show you a couple of my preferred methods and tips and tricks later on, but won't be covering that this time. Okay, so just kind of fill that area in. So I've established a material there for my midsole. I'm going to use a darker 50% gray marker and just kind of fill this in. Like so. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, by the way, the idea or concept here is this is just me sketching as I would normally sketch. I don't go back and edit these or add any voiceover because I want to give you a natural feel for, or an actual feel rather, of how I would sketch something out and try and render it. So I've got this Prismacolor here. I'm going to see if, just on this test page, okay, I kind of like the color. And this will actually give me an opportunity to talk a little bit about material. So material with markers is something that requires a little bit of creativity on your part. So you kind of have to think about how you want, what the material itself is. So if I'm sketching something that's leather, for example, my marker application may not be as precise as it would be for something that's a little bit more glossy, for example, or machined or manufactured. So here I'm just going to apply this marker with kind of a random pattern almost, and this way it's going to create a more natural feel. One of the things I like to do when I apply my marker is to first outline the area. This happens to be a Prismacolor marker. Prismacolors and Copics are both alcohol based. But with Copic markers, you can actually refill them, which is kind of nice. So here I've kind of outlined my area. I'm actually just going to take the marker now, and with kind of a random pattern like so, you can kind of see I'm starting to build a little bit of texture or variation in the marker stroke by just randomizing and filling in instead of being as uniform in my stroke as I was previously. Okay, so now I've got a little bit of leather there. I'm actually going to let this dry, and I'll actually come back to this once it's kind of absorbed into the paper a little bit better. So for the tongue, or actually I'm going to use this green just to kind of pop this cushioning element here. Just on the bottom. And I'm shading half of this because I want it to appear as though it's catching a little bit of a highlight right there on the top. On the toe of the shoe, I'm going to go ahead and do the same leather texture. And as I move to the left of the sketch, just keeping that a little bit lighter. We'll come back and touch that up in a bit. So now we get to the area with the laces. Just going to kind of outline these like so. And we'll come back in, add some line weight with the pencil, just with a little bit heavier pencil, maybe even a black marker to kind of help pop some of these areas. But just applying this same textured approach. Okay, just like so. All right, so we got a lot of it done here. Now I'm going to add just a couple more things. So I've got this little detail on the back that I want to color in as well. I'm going to use my 50% marker here, and I want this to just kind of feel like a rubber, so I'm going to kind of just give it a nice solid application. I'm going to keep this light so that it's almost like a highlight catching edge on this tooling, and you'll see what I mean here as I pop this with some pencil. Okay, so now I've got my Prismacolor. You'll notice that I sharpened both edges of the Prismacolor this time, and the reason for this is this way I don't have to sharpen nearly as much as I've done in previous videos. So rotating my page to a comfortable angle. Just gonna start by pulling out some of these details. And because I'm drawing over the marker, I can add details where there might not have been any before, and even add just a little bit of shading, for example, on this. So now I've got a light catching surface here, some shadow. I can add a heavier line weight right on top of this cushioning element in this area. And you'll also notice that I rotate my page a lot. For those who haven't seen me sketch before, I do this to make sure that I'm sketching at a comfortable angle so that my lines will be very confident and expressive. Okay, just a couple more lines here. And I'm not going to worry about these little ridges on the bottom because I'm actually going to use a marker to pull those in. So I think it'll help it just pop just a little bit more. Okay, so I've got my area with the laces here. So just adding my line weight so that these laces pop a little bit better. Now, if I wanted to leave them wide, I could leave them like that, or I could actually take my marker, just kind of shade these in a little bit. And add some texture, for example, and there I have some tone on my laces. Pretty cool. Okay, so there I have my upper. It's kind of leathery. I've got my laces shaded in, and maybe I just want to add just a little bit of color pop on the lining of the inside of the shoe, and maybe this kind of ties into that cushioning element on the side. Now on the bottom, I'm just going to add, using a nice dark marker, these little tread elements on my tooling. Okay, so now I've got those dark elements on, which kind of helps communicate some grip there. For the leather itself, I'm just going to add a couple little lines, you know, almost like little creases or folds in the leather, as well as a few little dots here and there. And maybe just to be quick and efficient, a couple little dark marks here where my laces go into the upper of the shoe. On the toe, the upper, I'm going to add a little bit of black pencil on its side, And this will help give me kind of a shadow core going through the top of the shoe, as well as the toe here. Just to kind of help create that nice wrapping effect, show that it's a three-dimensional object. Also do the same thing on the back. And I'm going to add a few stitch lines. And maybe just a shadowed area here. Plus a contour line. Okay, so here's just a quick sketch of a shoe using some marker and pencil. Went over time again. I'm trying to keep these to about 15 minutes, but sometimes it's hard to know when to stop. In fact, that would be an interesting video, is going over how much is too much as you're sketching. I know that's probably a question a lot of you have, and the answer really is you go until it feels right. But I can go a little bit into maybe some of the elements that I feel help a sketch feel complete, done, and appropriate. Here I've added just a quick drop shadow on this sketch. I'm not too happy with some of the shadowing, so I'm gonna, now that the marker is a little bit dry, add a little bit of an extra coat on my marker where I feel there'd be some shadowing happening. Here's my shadow core. Going right through there. And that'll kind of dry and blend as well. So I'm not too worried about that, and kind of want to darken this up just a hair to show some of the surfacing that's kind of happening on the side of the shoe. So if you want to show a change in direction of surface as it's going up, adding just something like a little highlight here can really help this surface have some more definition. Right, it's pretty cool. Just a nice light shade through here. Maybe some texturing, show that it's rubber. You can add a logo. That's my generic symbol for a logo. Okay, I'm going to call it good there. Well, thanks for watching, and if you like what you see, please share the link with your friends. Tell them about Sketch-A-Day and the awesome things you're learning and seeing. Be sure to subscribe. If you subscribe, you'll actually be the first to know when I do post a video, whether it's late at night or early in the morning or whenever I can. You'll be the first to know. YouTube will send you a little email saying, hey, Spencer's posting your video. Check it out, and you can kind of see what it is I actually did. So that's really cool. Also, be sure to check out my Instagram. That's where I kind of post all my sketches during the week that aren't necessarily videos, and sometimes I sketch robots or other things that I find interesting at the time. So be sure to check that out. And you can also find me on Facebook. The links will be posted here in the video, but you can find me at facebook.com/sketchaday, and that's where I also kind of communicate with my fans, post sketches, and also respond to your questions if you have them. So be sure to check that out. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time. All right, I'm done for real. Thanks, guys. So radiating out from the circle, I am easing my line weight as I go this way through my sketch. So now you can kind of see this area is kind of popping a lot more.